So the fact that there's an award for something where there's an objective outcome seems silly to me. Whereas in art, it's subjective. And so it usually is more reflective of what's going on in the United States or in a culture at that point in time, in a good way or a bad way.
Rob, how are you?
Doing well, man. What's going on with you?
I'm in the aftermath of a busy first half of the week.
Oh yeah,
Allison was out of town. Allison out of town watching the kids. You know, I realize that my life unravels when I have to parent solo. So that's where I'm at right now.
I'm right there with you. Jen was out of town most of last week, and then just a couple days earlier this week. Same thing. Yeah. So, and I was particularly upset because her and I usually watch award shows together. And on Sunday was the Grammys. Did you watch the Grammys?
No, but I have. I'm not sure if I'm more excited to talk about what happened at the Grammys or the fact that you like to watch the Grammys. I think you're the only person I know that watches the Grammys.
Well, I think you and our listeners will learn a little bit more about me and my hobbies and things that I like today that if I'm honest, that I'm comfortable talking about, but I've decided to do it. So we're going to talk about it.
All right, it's a big day.
You like to make fun of my unique interests, and you'll bring up like maps and stuff like in Whitney Houston. I think this is just going to add fuel to your fire, which was one of the other reasons I was hesitant to bring this as the topic of our conversation today.
Good. Okay, good.
But let me go back to the question. So you did not watch the Grammys.
I did not watch the Grammys, but I did look at all the highlights of the entrance. So I saw Kanye West.
Oh, like people. Yeah.
So Kanye West walks in.
The saran wrap dress.
Yes. I've got lots of thoughts about that. I'm curious what you thought. And then I saw Jaden Smith wearing a house on his head. Can I tell you, I think I missed my calling in life. What I should have been was an artist.
What you should have been was you should have been born into a ridiculously wealthy family.
Yes.
I think that's what you mean.
Yeah. Well, but because I here's what I think about is I want Jaden to know. I really feel this way. I want him to know that I think he looks ridiculous. But he's never going to hear me.
No.
But I hate the idea that he went to this award show and ahead of time. I can't imagine it was his brainchild, but maybe it was. He goes, "I'd like you to put a castle on my head." No explanation why. And then he sits there, takes pictures, dead serious, and thinks, "I'm artistic. This is creative." And we all take pictures, and he just off he go. And there's never a feedback loop of like, "Hey man, it's pretty stupid what you did with the whole castle on your head, huh?"
I saw that, and I just thought he was doing something ridiculous to get some, people, some notoriety because he was promoting something. I've not looked into it anymore. So my assumption was he was trying to promote something, but maybe he's not.
Oh, maybe he was. Yeah, it was like a billboard. He's got a movie coming out called
The Castle.
Big House.
The Big House. Yeah, I did see that afterwards. And I saw the saran wrap dress thing too. That was crazy.
I want to talk about Kanye West and Bianca, but first, back to the house thing. Do you think that Jaden thinks that he's smarter than, or am I outraged because I don't like the fact that I don't get it, and maybe I'm not sophisticated enough to get it?
I don't know. Are you?
I don't know. I don't know if either I am outraged because I don't get it, or I'm outraged because he thinks I don't get it. One of the two, but I find it annoying.
I find it annoying. I'm not outraged. I think it's silly,
Yeah, and you just
especially
move
if
on.
it's just a choice. But regardless, he's winning
Right.
because we're talking about it
Well,
right now.
yeah. That's it. Dang.
So even if he has nothing to promote,
Mm-hmm.
maybe he's going to get a movie or whatever it is now because everyone's wondering, well, what the hell was that thing? Let me talk to him.
Yeah.
And I have this thing. Everyone's talking about you, man. Let's bring you in. Maybe
Yeah.
it's that.
I guess. What'd you think of Kanye and Bianca's entrance?
I only saw it afterwards, and as you might imagine, I've not taken too deep of a look into all of this because it's a big giant eye roll for me. Um, in
I
part
don't
because I
understand.
don't.
Hold on. I don't understand how you are a giant eye roll to Jaden walking in with a gargantuan house on his head, and you're an eye roll to Kanye West walking in there like he is Shaft with some nude woman who looks like an abuse victim. That you're like eye roll, and then you're like, but who's going to win the Grammys? Like the award you care.
I
It's like the
I
exact
get it.
opposite. For me.
I I I think that they're different, but I see them. I can understand why you think that they're similar. I guess for me, it's like I don't want to give any of these individuals my attention
Mm-hmm.
or others to give them their attention if what they're doing. I guess we don't know about. I don't know about Jaden. I am fairly certain that whatever Kanye is doing is just so that people keep talking about him because from what I know, I mean, his music career is not going so hot anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and I don't want to give him any of my attention and the dollars that come with my attention
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if I don't have to.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it too is I don't like the fact that some people are famous just because they're outrageous and that people either like to watch them or hate watch them. And either way, they're making out with a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah. He posted on I think it was on X or something or Instagram, Bianca, said like my wife is more Googled than the Grammys, the most Googled thing in the
Yeah, I
world today.
saw that.
Right. And I mean, so he definitely won
Yes.
by doing that. I do
Yep.
seriously think that I think I think it's abuse. I think that there's such a power differential between the two of them. And there's no involvement from her. It's my wife is this way. He came out another post. It's only been 35 days this year, so get ready for more. Like he's the orchestrator of this, and she
Sure.
just is like this puppet that he's got out there telling him to strip nude.
Right. I mean, she's a more severe because again, I don't know anything about this, but when he was married to Kim Kardashian, it was not that way, right? I mean,
It's the
she's that
opposite.
way in general as a person.
But he made her put clothes on. There's a clip going around about him saying, "I don't want you to wear tight clothes anymore because you're my wife and I want to protect you."
Mm,
And then Bianca, who's like, by the way, a body double of Kim.
right.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's interesting.
I think it is. And in the last episode we were talking about, you not pathologizing people as much and me saying, well, maybe that's what you're doing when we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. But here, I think it's pretty clear he has a lot of stuff going on in his head, and
Yeah.
there's some shit going on. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, that's not what I brought up the Grammys. I do watch the Grammys, and in general, I brought up my wife before because her and I will usually watch these things together, and she was out of town, so I watched it passively.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I was doing work on Sunday night. But do you watch any award shows?
No,
No,
like the Oscars. Yeah, I don't. Nothing. I don't.
nothing.
Nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no award show that I watch. No, yeah.
Yeah.
I like
So
I like the clips of like Ricky Gervais at the People's Choice Awards or whatever the awards
or
he is, where he's
the
roasting
Golden
everybody.
Globes.
Golden Globes. I like that. I like the funny clips, but I don't watch the show.
Yeah, the monologues from the hosts or the MCs. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I thought it would be interesting for us to talk about awards, and specifically why people care about them. Like as a viewer,
Mhm.
why do people care
Mhm.
about awards? Which I may be able to talk a little bit more about as someone who has historically cared a lot, and you may not because you've not really
I
ever
won't be
watched
adding.
them.
Yeah, I can't figure
Yeah,
it out. Why?
but maybe that's a good thing for us to talk about is why you
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
And then like are they still relevant? Because I would, like a lot of other things, viewership for all these is down drastically.
Mhm.
Like in the 90s with the Academy Awards, I mean, that was, probably pulling in, 50, 60 million viewers every year. And I can't remember, it's still like one of the top 10 shows in a year, but
Mhm.
its audience has shrunk drastically. And every other like top 10 viewing something is a sporting event.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so there is some conversation around, well, are they relevant anymore, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I think I'd like to talk to you today about awards. Like, why are there awards? Why do people care as an artist to receive awards? Why do people want to watch these types of things? Because I've been thinking about that a little bit more myself over the past couple of
Okay.
years.
Okay. All right.
So,
So why do you like the awards?
so I
Like,
like
let's
them.
take let's just say you couldn't. I mean, I know let's just say you couldn't reference any research. You just had to talk about Rob Patterson's experience. What are you liking about those shows?
If I had to, if I thought about it more, which I have in preparation for this, so I started watching the Oscars as like a 10-year-old.
Okay.
I'd watch
I
it
think
with my parents.
I watched it with my parents too when I was growing up.
Yeah. Like,
Mhm.
and I thought it was neat in part because you got to see people, celebrities there, which, I like all that. Like actors talking about what they're doing. I think that that's cool. I found it fun to just see like, all right, who does everyone think is going to win and who doesn't? And I think a lot of people get interested in awards when there's an upset.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so just to watch to see, all right, well, this is what's supposed to happen. Does it actually happen? I like to watch the reactions
Mhm.
of when people win awards. I just like to see their emotional reaction and then the reaction of others who don't win. I think sometimes it's kind of funny.
Like you like to to observe the emotion.
Right. But and this is again super nerdy, but I think part of the reason I liked it is, all right, well, these are people who are in this field. This is what they say are the best movies, TV shows, music in the industry this year.
Yeah.
So it gave me like even as a kid, I would watch, I'm a 10-year-old watching Patton and, you know, and The Godfather and Terms of Endearment, and no one else is watching that shit at that age. Because it just interested me. Like, why is this the best? Why do other
Mhm.
people think that this is the best of the year? What about it is different or cooler than what anyone else is doing?
So maybe
So I started off that way.
that's one reason why I don't like it is because I do not assume that I don't think that they think I don't agree with the critics. I don't or the raters, whoever those people are. Like like no comedy has ever won Best Picture, right? But I think comedies
And
I
well, I
would
mean,
way rather
it
watch
depends on
comedies.
how you define a comedy, but they rarely do. There are movies like Annie Hall's won Best Picture, and that's a Woody Allen movie. It's not it's not Bridesmaids,
Yeah, like
but
Bridesmaids should have won something like that.
right.
So I So I think that, so maybe that's a difference between me and you on that, is that I don't look at it and go, you know, this is the best thing. I just think this is what some old stodgy guys thought was good.
Yeah.
So I'm less,
And
you know.
yeah, I agree with you there. And I think that's part of the reason more recently I've not been as into it, because it's like, well, what does it mean to be the best? It's such a subjective
Uh-huh.
medium. Like,
Uh-huh.
how is this the best album or the best, performance by an actor? That seems
Okay, what if we
weird.
switched out and if it wasn't TV and movies, if it was artist? I think I would rather watch it if it was, the show was called The Paintbrush or something, and you won a paintbrush if you had the best piece, and then they showed they showed all the artwork up there, and I could look at it and go like, oh, I can look and see which one, I get why that artist won because I can see the piece. But when it's
Well,
a movie and I've not seen all the movies, I'm just like, I don't know who that guy is, and I don't remember I don't know any of the players really to be able to feel connected to who won or who didn't win.
right, but that's why I think fans of movies, like I have friends still, like this year before the Academy Awards, I'll try to watch a number of the Best Picture nominees. I used to, before I had kids, I didn't miss it. I would watch every single one. It's been more
Really?
difficult now with kids. Yes.
For the purpose of knowing all the movies so that you could watch the awards.
And agree or disagree.
Oh, I think if I did that, I would like it. So
Right.
it's probably that I'm not as connected to the movies themselves, so then I don't, or the songs, so I don't like it. You know?
Yeah. So when I see that stuff come up, I find that to be more interesting. But we're talking about movies, but awards exist, and TV and entertainment, but awards exist everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Nobel prizes are awards, Pulitzer prizes are awards. I think the most ridiculous award for me, I don't know why I think it's so ridiculous, the ESPYs. Why are there awards for athletes?
Wait, why?
Like in I
Why?
don't know
Hold
why
on.
it's so weird to me.
Why would there not be awards for athletes? What
Well,
do you mean? That seems like so much more tangible.
I get the MVP or a Cy Young Award winner, or something like that, if you're talking about a specific major league uh,
Yeah.
sport. But to just go around and say, all right, look at the list. This was the best, football player this year. This was the best, play in football this year. This was the best, whatever. It just I don't. It's just like, all right, like that's the best play in football this year. What? How is that the best play in football this year?
It's funny that
It just seems so weird to me, because I think it's in part because in athletics there is an objective, like winner and loser. There is an
yeah,
objective. This quarterback threw this many yards, or this running back ran this many yards.
yeah.
Whatever it is. So it's objective. So the fact that there's an award for something where there's an objective outcome seems silly
Mhm.
to me. Whereas in art, it's subjective. And so it usually is more reflective of what's going on in the United States or in a culture at that point in time,
Mhm.
in a good way
Mhm.
or a bad way. So I think
Okay.
that's why it's more interesting to me. But in athletics, it's like, all right, well, was this the best catch because the person ran it for longer than anyone else that year? Or why is this the best? When there's an objective facts out there to say what is the best team, the best coach, whatever it is. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. I disagree with you, but what you're saying makes sense. I mean, I disagree because, the one that stands out to me is there's that like famous catch from Odell Beckham Jr. when he was, there's a pass interference and he jumps over and catches something, way back here. And if he catches that, everybody goes, that's incredible, but there's no award for that specific thing. And so as a viewer, it's cool to watch them say best catch in football or whatever it is, and then you get to see the 5 best catches, and then some guy that had some badass catch comes up and gets an award for the catch. I mean, I think part of it is that you're not interested in sports that much, and I'm not really either. So neither one of us is watching.
Right.
You know,
I would agree that's part of it too, but I don't watch, Nobel Prizes or Pulitzer Prizes being handed out anyway. But I can acknowledge that, hey, again, the best physicist this year, maybe is an objective thing that the physicist is doing that makes them the best physicist this year. But in general, it's a science, and so there's some subjectivity to it. So providing them with this award is some sort of designation that, hey, this person did something great this year above and beyond their peers.
Mm-hmm. Do you think,
and there wasn't an objective way to look at that?
Do you think what if you removed the audience, would the awards still exist? Meaning, like, is this really just a way to get views, a way to get people talking about the sport, a way to get more, traction in a certain area? I wonder,
100%.
100% what?
Yeah, it's the Academy Awards. I mean, they've been around since the 20s, but I mean, they started with no audience. They started with like 100 people in a room getting awards. It was an industry event designed to promote movies and do a lot of other things, like get people more engaged so that more people would want to be actors, stuff like that. Have people, it was built to, I think in part to build like a star system, because even back in the 20s, people who went into acting were crazy. And so they wanted to have a positive public persona and have people know them that way, as opposed to knowing about their crazy personal lives.
Oh, that's interesting. But shouldn't they not care? If you really cared about the craft and the art, shouldn't you not care if you got selected? Well, Beyonce should not really care about whether or not she got the Grammy for Best Album.
Right. But I think this is where it's the cool psychology, right? So this is we hinted at this a little bit last episode when we were talking about, actors and actresses. And, one of my assumptions was, you have to placate a famous person because they bring in a lot of money, but there's a lot of pressure. And so sometimes they may act and be, in ways that are, to a non-actor come across as crazy. And I think it's the same thing. Like, did you ever win a trophy as a kid with any of the athletics that you did?
Yes.
Did you like it?
I still have them, Rob.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did you like it?
Well, hold on. Let me just back up and say, I'm not saying that I'm saying, okay, it's not that I don't understand why that Beyonce would want the Grammy. I'm just saying, if we were elevated people, Beyonce getting the Grammy doesn't really move the needle on whether or not she had a good album or not a good album. But
right, there are 10 different criteria that decide if it was a good album or bad album. I'll agree with you.
But I am not an elevated person, so I still care that I have a trophy from when I was in high school that says midfield player of the year. I'm still proud of that trophy, and I shared it with another kid. Two of us got this, and we both are very proud. I think we probably both still have the trophy. Like, that was right. So I think, and I got a YouTube plaque that says,
"Oh yeah, you showed me that."
Right. I showed you immediately, and I was like, I don't know who else to show this to, but I'm really excited about it. So I'm not saying I'm not above it. I want the trophy.
I'm not either.
Yeah,
I'm not either. I know I got a baseball trophy, but it was back in like 1992. I think they would now call it a participation trophy. But I did in like middle school, did like a you'd act out like scenes from like a play or something like that, and it would be a competition like all week, all like an all day on Saturday competition. And then you get, you know, ribbons or something like that. And I did it for 3 years, and I went up each year. So I finally got the blue ribbon in my 8th grade year. But the first year I did it, I got like honorable mention, and I was devastated. It was pretty terrible. But yeah, I got that blue ribbon. Loved it. Like I had never felt so accomplished after having gotten a blue ribbon for a grade school acting thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It felt great.
Yeah. Okay. So, go ahead.
But let me go back to Beyonce though. But I think it almost makes more sense if you think about what you said. Like there's so many other reasons why she was accomplished. I'd bet one of the reasons that she potentially so focused on this is because it's the one thing she doesn't have. Like if you look at what makes a successful musical artist, she has more money than she knows what to do with. She's won a ton of Grammys. She's been famous for what, over 20 years. Everyone knows who she is. She's widely viewed as, you know, successful by critics and everything else. The one thing she doesn't have is this award. So to me, it makes more sense that someone at that level just wants like the final piece of the pie. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It 100% makes sense. But I think it's but I guess what I'm arguing is that it's not a good part of our makeup. Like, I'm not sure that we should be, or I'll say it this way. I'm not sure it's helpful for us to be motivated by awards. And I think that, like, to that end, I think the everybody get a trophy thing is like, it obviously works. Kids love it, but I don't think it's good for them.
So then I want to hear whys to both of your questions. Why does it not make sense to you to focus so much on awards? And then why do you not think it's great for kids to get participation trophies?
Okay, so let me first remind everybody, I am not above it. I'm speaking as though I was an elevated thinker.
Conceptually, yes.
Conceptually. I think that it's bad to be driven for awards because you're driven by the outcome versus the process.
Yep.
So if I am a soccer player and I'm like, I need to get the MVP trophy, then that's the reason why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it because I want to get better skills or because I love the game or because I want to support my team members or because I like the process of learning or any of those things that would serve me. A better example, when I think about YouTube, like one of the big challenges for like you and I on YouTube is we have to think about, well, what do Rob and David want to talk about? And also, will people watch our videos? We're wanting
the overlap of that Venn diagram.
Right. We're wanting this outcome, but the worst case scenario is that we abandon what we want to do and we end up just chasing the click or the trophy. Right. It could distort the art. It could distort the process.
100%.
That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, I think there is research around this, but when I'm spacing on the book, I think the book's called Do Hard Things by Steve McMahon. I'll look it up. But there's a book about this.
Right now.
Yeah, I think it's called Do Hard Things by Steve McMahon or something like that.
Steve Magnus.
But what he's saying in there is there's research showing that if you reward somebody for just showing up to the soccer field or award someone just for showing up to the acting club, then what you have taught that kid is the reason why you play soccer is an award and the reason why you act is an award. And then that becomes the focus. And so as they age, I think that they're taking on tasks and they're looking around constantly like, what's the award that I get for this thing? And my kids do this too. Their jujitsu tournament that they go to, like they're fixated on how big the medal is that they get for attending the jujitsu tournament. And sometimes there'll be only 3 people in their division and they'll get the 3rd place medal. And they're like, oh yeah, awesome. Because they got the award.
Yeah.
But if they excelled and didn't get the award, they would be disappointed. Like, so I feel like it distorts, again, it takes away from the process and the love of growth. And it just makes us super focused on, did I get the outcome or not? So I think it's undercutting our resilience.
That makes sense to me. I was going to say more simply put, it's like, the intrinsic versus extrinsic reward
Yeah.
that we get, right? Are we internally motivated to do something? And, if we're trying and we're improving and we're iterating and getting better, that's the reward in and of itself, versus just striving toward, all right, I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to do this shitty movie, but it's awards bait because I'm a, poor, or homeless, person, right? It's just like a difficult thing. And then
Yes.
those types of people, performances normally get awards. And as opposed, it's a shitty movie, but I think I'm going to get it done. So I'm going to do it, even though I don't want to do it because I want the award.
Yeah.
It's a similar thing there.
You know who Rick Rubin is?
The producer, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super creative guy. And he's had fantastic success in a range of different, music modalities. And in his book, I can't remember what his book is called, but it's a very good book I read a while ago. But he was talking about like the focus on the audience is the biggest derailer to creativity, because you end up making stuff for somebody else that you don't even believe in. And he said, he attributes, that's the reason why movies today aren't as good as they were 30 years ago, is because we want to make the 15th, Avenger or Fast and the Furious movies
to make money,
because we want to make money, and we want the accolades, but we don't do it because we love the process or the approach or whatever. And so he always says, like, you should create as though no one's going to see it. You're creating for you first, and then the audience will like it more.
I get that. I've heard something similar. Well, I guess let me first react to that. He can say that.
Yeah, that's true. That's
right?
true. It is easier
it's
when you are
super
successful. Yes.
Yeah. When you're worth, hundreds of millions of dollars, that's a great story to tell yourself. I'm sure there are plenty of other artists, whether it's actual artists, musicians, actors, who think the same thing and have been waiting tables for 15 years.
That's such a good point.
That's not going to work for them.
Yeah.
A.
Yeah.
But B, what I will go back to, I remember watching, this was a couple months ago. I think Matt Damon I think he was on that hot sauce show.
Hot Ones?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And he was talking, I watched a clip of him talking about how Good Will Hunting, which is the movie that made him famous, would not be that would not be made now, or would be like a TV movie now.
Oh,
in other words, partly because of what you just said, is it's more difficult to make those types of more adult dramatic movies now than it used to be, because people don't go to the movie theater as much anymore. And so that when they do, they don't want to watch that type of movie anymore, that are comfortable doing that in their houses.
Yeah.
And as a result, the primary players now, maybe not primary is the wrong way to say it, but I mean, like Netflix and a lot of those streaming services are big players. And so they can decide, all right, well, I want to buy this, and it may or may not go into a theater at all.
Yeah.
And the budget's going to be different if I think it's not going to go to a theater, because, I'm not willing to take that risk for just a, made for TV type movie vibe to something like that. So I do think that there's a difference there with some of that. But yeah, I think the intrinsic versus extrinsic reward makes a lot of sense. I know that when I've received rewards, that's certainly one of the motivators is, I just feel like pursuing that reward makes me feel better. I also think that there's some sort of like recognition and status element to it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the best. Or if I'm Meryl Streep, I've won 3 Academy Awards. Everyone thinks I walk on water in the industry because I do movies that get awards attention.
Yeah. Yes.
And there are other reasons. She's, probably a bit more objectively just really good at what she does, but there's some status element to this as well. Like, like when you go to a movie, Academy Award, this features Academy Award winner Meryl Streep and Academy Award winner this, or Emmy winner this. So it's part of their brand from there on out, which I think can make people feel pretty good as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I like putting PhD after my name.
There you go.
Thing, right?
Yes.
I did the same thing.
I didn't even think about that, but that's like a status thing.
Yeah.
Like look at what I did. And this is these 3 letters signify, 5, 6, 7 years of work that allowed me to do this.
Yeah. Doesn't mean I'm good at it, but I went
but you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know that. And then I think, this isn't really psychological at all, but I think awards, especially now, have become just a big marketing thing. Yeah. Right. You can market yourself. You can market your movie. You can market your album. If we're talking about entertainment awards as this, and it becomes something that people are more interested in.
Yeah, I think it totally is. Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of why I don't like it. I think it's one, I think that they are too bland now. And I don't know if it's, I want to say now, like they were super edgy before. I think they probably weren't. Maybe I was younger and had seen it, but now I feel like it's just going to be the same, like right down the middle jokes. Yeah. I guess if it's not right down the middle, someone might get out of the stands and slap you. Like that's the risk. Right? But for the most part, it's me
different
right
landscape.
Down the middle.
Yeah, post slap.
I wonder if their words aren't as interesting now because the comedians are a little bit like, we don't know who's in the audience. But you know what I mean? I feel like it's movies I don't care about or haven't seen. It's people that I am. This maybe is another difference. Is I am not that impressed by that band of celebrity. Like
what do you mean?
Like if I saw Leonardo DiCaprio, that would not be a big deal. I would not be awestruck by George Clooney or whoever's at the Nicole Kidman. I don't have any interest in chasing her down. Now,
who would you want to chase down?
Athletes, probably.
Okay.
Athletes I would be more impressed with. I think there are YouTubers that I would be more impressed with. I spend more time on YouTube. Like that. I just don't watch those big kind of like blockbuster movies. So it's not, I'm less interested in them,
Yeah. So you're definitely not the target audience for all that. Yeah. Whereas I don't know that I'm starstruck necessarily, like, oh my God, I'm in the presence of Nicole Kidman. But I can appreciate what someone is able to do and, how they're able to, on a random Sunday, just be Nicole Kidman. And then on Monday, have to be a completely different person. And if you're able to do that well, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you like acting. So part of it maybe is that you know more about acting because you did it growing up. And I never was in plays or anything. Right. Rob, you got the blue ribbon.
It's blue ribbon. Yeah. I had to find that. I hope I still have that blue ribbon. My mom listens to us. Mom, can you ship my blue ribbon to me, please? From the Bellarmine Speech League in 1997. But again, downsides, I think part of what we've talked about as well. And I think this is certainly changed, at least in entertainment awards, is, it is so subjective and very biased. Like at the Academy Awards, one woman has ever won Best Director. In the history of the Academy Awards, one woman, it was Catherine Bigelow for The Hurt Locker. No other woman has ever won Best Director in the Academy Awards. Very few have even been nominated. It's changed a lot now because they changed a lot of the rules for like who's part of the voting block and things like that.
That's interesting.
But that's a big. Yeah, go ahead.
It's just sorry to say that, but I was going to interrupt him. But if you had asked me name a female director, I wouldn't have even been able to identify one.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just probably part
there's certainly fewer of them. Yeah.
Well, and there's just less. Like, I wonder how much of it. Like Quentin Tarantino, has he won anything? Has he won a Oscar?
Yeah, he's won for writing movies because he writes all of his own movies. So he's won at least 2 Oscars for writing.
Okay,
I don't think he's ever won for directing, but he's been nominated a bunch.
but
Yeah.
he has like a brain. He's been. I don't know if it's him or if the industry, but he's been promoted. Someone who's not really interested in it knows who he is, and I wonder if what I was thinking is the marketing machine focusing on male directors. I've heard of Michael Bay before. I don't think he's won anything, but I know that name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think there are some.
And that's probably just more of just your like what interests you. So directors of movies that you're going to go watch, and
That's
you may
true.
be more likely to watch movies from those directors.
Yeah.
So I think people who follow the Oscars, like, you're right, Michael Bay has never been nominated for an Oscar, Dave.
But I think he did Ninja
right.
Turtles and
Yeah, he did, like,
Transformers, right?
Yeah, Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're right. And that's maybe just a whole another bucket of worms, but which would I think go back into, well, who's making these decisions? Up until very recently, a lot of these voting bodies were, older. They skewed older,
Mm-hmm.
very American, very white.
Mm-hmm.
And so the types of movies that garnered interest were just more likely to be the types of movies that those types of people are going to go watch and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, it's subjective.
Yeah.
But I think that started to shift. You're smiling. Why are you smiling?
I just think I didn't know that you knew so much about like director. Like, I just didn't know this was an area of interest for you.
All right. So I don't think I could do this anymore. But people who have known me for a while, I again geek out on the Oscars. There was a time in life I could name for you every Best Picture winner from 1970 to 2010
What?
in chronological
Really?
order. I don't think I could do it anymore.
That didn't help you with the bullies, Rob, when you're growing up?
It helped me in no aspect of my life. So it could be like a, is this like a cause or a symptom type thing, right? Like, did I not have any friends or have a lot of, girls and women attracted to me because of this, or because I didn't? That's what I leaned into. I don't know that we'll ever know.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. What came first? Wait, but can your like mom and dad and sister do that too? Is that like a family thing?
No, only me.
No. And you just go, I'm interested in it. And as a kid, you're like, I'm going to learn it.
Read all about it, read about the history, all kinds of stuff. That was movies. I was super into it. And then the awards were just my entry, like my entry into it, more into the industry was the award stuff.
I think this is an example of when intelligence can be an overused strength. Jeez. God.
Yeah, it's nerdy, man. It was nerdy.
Wow.
But I have a couple friends who are nerd out with me. All right. So the nerdiest thing I used to do is in college, a friend of mine and we would, because they announced these nominations usually really early in the morning. So he and I would get up and we would go to each other's house at like 6:30 in the morning to watch a 10-minute announcement ceremony together.
And this friend, how do you, just out of curiosity, how do you find the one other guy in North America that wants to tune into this?
Again, common interest around movies, and then you just dive into it deeper that way. Yeah,
Wow.
It was crazy.
I didn't know that existed.
Things have changed a bit for me there, but yeah, for a while, for a solid like 10 to 15 year span, so into it.
But is there a fantasy of being, like, when you say that, it makes me think you're the fantasy of being there and being part of that, and like it's a new world.
Yes, that's a good point. For a big as a big chunk of my childhood, I thought that I would end up in LA doing something there,
Oh, why did?
writing,
Yeah.
acting. Because I think over time I found psychology, and that was a bit more interesting to me. Not a bit more, a lot more interesting. And what I liked about writing was just understanding people more. And
Mm-hmm.
then instead of just writing about people, interacting and with people on a more daily basis was more interesting to me. But when I was younger and didn't quite know why that was, that's why I think I leaned into that pretty hard.
Oh, that's cool. And you did write, right? You submitted stuff to Veep, yes,
Oh
or
yeah,
things like that.
I had the same friend who used to watch that, and another friend of mine. We did for like a year or so. We wrote spec scripts and sent them to contests for. So I did them for Veep and for New Girl, which were both of those shows were pretty popular at the time that I did all of
Yeah,
those.
I
So
love those. I loved both of those.
yeah, good
Yeah.
stuff. Well, I think
Oh.
to end it, Dave, I think the question is, do are awards still necessary? Because I think viewership for a lot of these are down across the board. Interest in awards is generally down across the board. Um, Although I did find an interesting article about the Academy Awards and Entertainment Awards specifically. Is interest actually is pretty much the same. It's just watching the show
Mm-hmm.
is not something that people are as interested in. I just talked to my wife about this, about the Grammys. I'm like, did you watch it while you were away? She goes, no, but I watched clips and read about it afterwards.
Yeah.
So there's still like an interest
Yeah.
there for people. It's just a desire to watch it live is lower.
Mm-hmm.
But given everything that you said and that we've talked about, awards, are they important? Is it a big deal that they're not as maybe center of cultural focus as they used to be?
I don't think it's a big deal, but I think it's a I think we should still have them.
Right.
Because if you think about, if we go back and I said what movies were good, or who, if I like, the only way to go back and know is through the awards. Otherwise, no one remembers what was published or whatever, what movies there were in 1994, unless you look at the awards, right? Like that's the only
Right.
marker, really.
Right. I mean, box office too, but I
Yeah.
don't know how common that is. And historically, there was a good deal of overlap sometimes between like Titanic won,
Mm-hmm.
September Awards the year it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's not always the case. I think it's less the case now, which is probably why people pay less attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, routinely, movies that win Best Picture aren't making over $100 million a
Yeah.
year, whereas before it was very common for that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would agree with you. I think it's just it is. I've started to look at it differently. It says best sometimes, although now you can hear the way that they even present the awards. There's a lot fewer of these shows using the word best. They use it like achievement in acting goes to, or achievement in directing goes to, as opposed to best actor,
I
best
find that
director.
freaking annoying.
And I knew that you would.
That's ridiculous. They should be
Why?
ashamed of themselves.
Why is it ridiculous?
It's okay to say someone won. Why are we hedging? That is that is so outrageous. We are adults getting awards and we're uncomfortable saying best. This is that
I
we're getting
generally
too
agree
soft.
with your moral outrages. This one I can see the difference is it's subjective, so it's not the best.
Well, then don't do an award. Then we're all just going to give hugs to everybody. What
No.
that think about in sports. If like there's the
But
big
again, it's objective in sports. You can be
in,
the best because of whatever
like in soccer,
stats related to
in
your
soccer,
sport.
there's the Ballon d'Or, which is like the award for the number one soccer player in the world. Or there's the Heisman Trophy, and those get voted on. And if you said you're not going to get the Heisman, you're going to get the Heisman, but it doesn't mean you're the best college football player. It means like you achieved in college football. Like that just softens the. It's like what it softens it.
I don't see the
No,
big deal. No. I think if there's an objective difference between what you and I do that you can measure, and we're scared to say it that way, then I agree with you.
Uh-huh.
But if we're both putting on some sort of performance,
yeah,
and I get an award over you for something that's very subjective, I don't see the big deal.
Well, I hate you for that, and I'm just trying to think of why you're wrong.
Well, again, you're just all up in your feels about this shit, Dave.
That's wild. They can't say adults. They can't say best. But I understand what you're saying.
They've just shifted it. For a long time they did, and now I don't know if it's achievement, but there's something else.
But they don't want to say best because they're
right. You could say, I know. I bet the reason you don't like it is because you feel there's like a social pressure to protect people's feelings. That's like what you're saying. You don't like anything that's like that.
Yeah, it makes me sound like a real a-hole, but that's why I don't like it. Why are we?
And again, I don't disagree with you about that more broadly.
Yes, but in this case,
I can.
You're not really the best.
It makes a bit more sense.
You're not really the best actor,
right?
We think you're a good actor.
Yes, you did. You did sing really well. There were 5 other people nominated that also did really well, and you happened to be the person that, in general, this body of people thought, did the best.
It's a voting thing. I got a plaque for YouTube, and you hit us.
How many times? I wish we had a counter. How many times are you going to mention that you got
it's
a fucking
all that I can do not to trot it out, okay? But I got the award on let's just call it November 1 or December 1, something like that. August 1, they shrunk the size of the award by a third. It used to be like this big thing, and now it's lighter and a third the size of the original award. I can't tell you how much it bothers me that my award is small. Everybody else, it's the same award.
You can't set it. You can't set people up. It's just such an easy setup, Dave. I wonder why you're so upset. Go ahead, Dave. Continue.
I'm just saying, I want my award to say best YouTuber, and I want it to be big.
Oh, Dave. I know you do, buddy. I know.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I think we spent some time talking about whether our awards are important or not. But I think we've also established that neither of us are above the recognition that comes with awards. So if you've liked what you heard here today, please recognize both Dave and I by subscribing to our channel on YouTube or following us on your podcast app. I'd also be curious to know, as you listen to this, what do you think about awards? We focus a lot on entertainment awards because that's what I know most about. But again, awards are everywhere. Recognition, awards are just a great way to provide recognition at times. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on awards. Are they kind of mostly a positive thing, mostly a negative thing from your perspective? So you can leave us a comment, or you can write us at shrinkspaceshow@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Dave.
Good job.
Of course. See you, everyone.